Today we're going to be checking out the Fortin Natas distortion pedal. So Fortin finally did it. People were begging and begging for years and years and years. Please put out a preamp pedal, and they did it. Now I know it says distortion, and you can run this into a clean amp or use it as a boost in front of an already dirty amp. But in my opinion, it definitely works best as a preamp. I feel like it has the right amount of top end, and the EQ is set up right to go into a power section or directly into an IR. But your mileage may vary, and you can definitely use this however you want. But for me, I'm going to be using this as a preamp for this video. So this is definitely kind of cool for me. I started this channel years and years and years ago with a Randall Satan, which of course was designed by Mike Fortin. And I don't know if you know this, but the Natas is just Satan backwards. And of course, he had his own Natas amplifier that had much the same kind of control layout, similar features to the Satan. I still regret to this day selling that Randall Satan. I sold it and then they were discontinued. I figured if I ever wanted to pick one up again, I could, and then all of a sudden they weren't made anymore, and I loved that amp. It was rad. I wish I had one again. But yeah, that's why I was kind of excited about this. It really felt like coming full circle after all of these years. I mean, the channel has grown so much. I've grown so much. It's just cool and nostalgic, and I absolutely had to pick it up. But more than just nostalgia, this thing absolutely delivers. This thing is so good. It's almost annoying how good this thing sounds. So what are the features? You have your 3-band EQ. They're really well balanced. I kept most of the controls at noon. I did turn the treble up a little bit more because, you know, as a preamp pedal, it doesn't have a presence control, but honestly, that treble control is so powerful, doesn't really need one. And then, of course, you have the 3 gain controls that you had on both the Fortin Natas and the Randall Satan that really make that thing cool and make this thing cool and kind of set it apart. So what are these controls? The girth, grind, and gain. Well, the overall gain, since, of course, it sets the overall gain of the pedal. Pretty self-explanatory. The grind is how much kind of upper mid top end like kind of grind you're getting. Definitely gets more pick attack, more stringy as you turn it up, saturates more on that top end, making it more, again, cutting and aggressive sounding. And then the girth control kind of does the same thing, but on the low end, kind of low mids, kind of where that like palm mute kind of sits, where the, again, girth of the guitar is, kind of where the fullness of it is. And you can really dial these in to tailor how you want the gain. So you can maybe back off the girth a little bit and pump up the grind to get more of a tight, very dry distortion. You could pump up both of them and get a super saturated distortion, or you can kind of find something in between where it's very tight but still full, just the right amount of dry, just the right amount of gain, and that's kind of what I went for. Then there is a toggle switch that goes between a mid scoop and a mid hump. And I actually liked it a little bit more scooped, but oddly enough, with the mids dialed up, I felt like that got the mid range to the right spot for me and really dialed in like things like the pick attack for me and where it sat in the mix. And but also weirdly enough, if I put the mid hump up, I actually like to dial the mids back a bit and scoop them a little bit to get them to be kind of where I wanted them to be, because it's very mid forward when you put that hump on there. And I feel like that's probably more for like genty or prog guys that need something very mid forward with not a ton of gain. That's probably going to be the setting for them. And of course you have your level control, and then you have the kill switch, which is a separate switch. You can turn that on and off, and essentially that adds another gain stage, more saturation, which was also something found on the Natas and Satan. So that's all of the features. Let's actually hear how this thing sounds inside and outside of a mix. So we're gonna have my Solar guitar going into this. It has Black Winter pickups. And then this is just gonna be going directly into my KSR PA50 power amp, which is then going to be going into my Captor X, my 2 Notes Captor X with a DV77 and VM1265 speaker blend. Then we're going to hear it outside of a mix all in that same setup. And because this is called the Natas, I wanted to see, you know, kind of how close it was to, well, I don't have a Natas amp personally, much to my dismay and forever regret that I don't have my Satan anymore. We're going to hear this compared to the Natas Neural DSP plugin. And I've set it up so that it's the exact same take. I took a clean DI, and then also I had a split signal through my DI box and had one go just direct into my interface and then the other go into the Natas pedal. That way we could hear these side by side, and then I'm going to have this going into the Natas plugin, and I'll have the settings up on screen, you know, when I'm switching between the two. I didn't set it exactly the same. I was trying to just get them to sound similar. And of course, I'm using that same VM1265 and DV77 IR with that just to keep everything consistent. Let's check it out. This thing absolutely brings the goods. I could record with this. I could absolutely gig with this. So many people could gig with this. Death metal guys, thrash metal guys, modern prog dudes, genty guys, thrash guys. Like this thing is awesome, and it does that Fortin thing, that really modern, very tight, very pick-attacky, cutting, aggressive modern metal tone. Like it just immediately gets you there. Very minimal dialing on this thing, and just there's your metal rig. This and maybe a noise gate, maybe a delay if you need that for leads or something, because you have that kill switch there for the leads. Definitely wouldn't use the kill switch for rhythms, gets too much gain, but definitely good as like a lead bump in gain if you need that. Just all in all, I think they killed it. Like at first I was like, oh man, there's no presence control. That's a bit of a downside, but honestly, after dialing it in and using it, definitely didn't need one. Like I said, that treble control is plenty powerful. I thought it was cool comparing this outside of the mix to the Natas plugin. Their mid-ranges sit in a bit different places, and of course the Natas doesn't have a switch to switch between like more scooped and more mid-forward. So this one, of course, had its mids in a bit different of a spot. But that's okay. They weren't, you know, completely out of the ballpark. They were definitely not exactly the same. But, you know, definitely could see them maybe in the same family. Regardless, they both sound killer, and I just absolutely love how this pedal sounds and feels to play. I think they absolutely nailed it. 10 out of 10. This is one of my favorite high gain preamps of all time, maybe my favorite. I just absolutely love it. I would love to know your thoughts on it down below. I'm going to have a link down below as well, so you can check this out or anything else from Fortin if you'd like to, or this Natas plugin from Neural DSP, which I also recommend. It is sick. But thanks for watching, guys. Stay metal.